Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Thursday, May 23rd. This evening we have a busy agenda in terms of number of items we have to cover, but we expect it not to last too long. We have some minutes to approve, and then we have a series of public hearings with National Grid. And more importantly, our new planning director, Mary Savage Dunham, will talk to us about a number of upcoming events of a historic nature here in Hingham that I'm sure many of you would like to put on your calendar. We'll have an update on the farmers market and a discussion on the Affordable Housing Trust request for funds and on an affordable housing unit at Ridgewood Crossing. And then we'll have some appointments to make, and we will adjourn to an executive session not to return concerning contract negotiations and litigation, which I'll explain in more detail later on. So with that, we have some minutes to approve for April 18th, May 2nd, and May 9th. And May 16th, too. Wow. Woo. I didn't see that one. So has everyone had a chance to look at those?
Did you make the changes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do you want me to make a motion? Or Paul?
Well, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes as written for April 18th, May 2, and May 9th. I wasn't present for the May 16th meeting.
Okay, I'll make the motion for May 16.
I'll second that. Okay, let's do them first in the order in which you propose, so that we're official. So for April 18th, May 2nd, and May 9th, is that?
Yes. That's my
Second.
motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
For May 16th,
Make the motion to approve the minutes for May 16th.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Before we begin, I have an announcement to make of, I think, of significance. Some folks at home may have heard of this. On last week, the 14th of May, the town of Hingham went into the marketplace, as we have from time to time, to raise monies, and this year we floated a $14,014,000 bond with an effective interest rate of 0.1817%. To do the math for you, because somebody had to do it for me, that $40 million has an effective interest charge to the town for 1 year of $72,000. That is significantly better than the last time we were in the marketplace. I believe the number there, Ted, was 1.1995, if my memory is right.
Correct.
And and the interesting part of this was we had 8 firms bid for the money. So the firm that won was Morgan Stanley, but certainly it was a memorable event, and we should all be proud of the fact that Hingham is a place where people think their investments will be well tended to. So I just thought we should congratulate the town administrator, the town treasurer, and all the others who are involved in this activity, because that's a wonderful thing that sets us off on the right course. So
Well done. Thank you.
well done.
I would add, Mr. Chairman, that, and for the rest of the board, this is the lowest interest rate that anybody in Massachusetts has realized in recorded history. I can't find any evidence of any interest rate for a product of a year or longer at a lower rate than this, period.
Well, congratulations again. That's it's nice. I had an occasion this week to be at a couple of meetings where I mentioned this, and there was silence and almost a little bit of awe, because it is such a significant achievement. So, all right, that's what's next year's bond going to be, Ted. That's the next thing we got to work on, right? Okay, we have a series of public hearings. So from National Grid, this is becoming a weekly meeting.
Tis the season.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Regan, and I'm the representative from National Grid. And National Grid hereby respectfully requests your consent to install and maintain approximately 500 feet, more or less, in Hull Street, Hingham, from the existing 4-inch main at Canterbury Street, southerly to the existing 6-inch main at house number 110, all of which to replace and abandon the existing 6-inch gas main in Hull Street.
Okay. Questions?
this-
We're getting, go ahead.
Is this more of your replacement?
Bare steel replacement,
Rolling?
yes.
How many houses does this impact as I count them here? Sorry.
I don't know how many services there are on, because not every house would have gas. But every house that has gas would be, once the new main is activated, would be reconnected.
I'm good.
Sure, please, go ahead.
Mr. Regan, I noticed that there's a series of requirements that you comply with generally with these pipe installations. I just know from having lived on Canterbury Street, there's a lot of ledge there. If you were to encounter a ledge outcropping subsurface, is it necessary for you to come back, or can you make a field adjustment?
With ledge?
Yeah,
Oh, we work with it all the time.
okay.
We work with it all the time. They put a whole rim on the end of the backhoe, and first of all, we're gonna try and put the new main as close as we can to the old main, and, but the ledge is not a problem any longer when, with the tools that are available now.
How deep in the, under the street is the pipe?
Gas main, 3 feet, and then a bed of sand, and then the new main goes in, and then backfilled.
Since he brought it up, is the old main buried lower? No?
Well, the old main, it depends on what's happened over the years. This main, well, Harry put this main in 1929, and...
Our Harry?
Yeah. And depending if the grade... of-
What
the
year
grade-
was that?
Or whatever, it's normally 3 feet on average.
So then you just try and get it about side by side?
Yes, just so in making the reconnection of the services simpler.
Is it the deepest pipe under the street?
No. Water has to,
Yeah.
every water in the drain sewer have to be below the frost line.
Okay.
Now, there's a pecking order, as I recall.
Yes.
And in some of the larger cities, in New York, we had telephone lines that were 70 feet down in front of the United Nations. And I know that because I fell down the ladder, so that's, but it is, there is a pecking order in terms of how that's right. Dennis is correct on that. And this work would be done when, Dennis?
We have a crew now on Central, and I believe when they wrap that up, there's going to be a priority with, Mr. Sylvester will probably suggest which one of these 4 they would start first.
Okay, Central Street, I noticed.
Yes, the ones we approved the last time I was,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, very good.
Do you know how many miles of piping you're going to have by the end of the summer? This is more a curiosity question. It's a lot, because, I mean, so far, we've approved quite a bit.
I believe it's 5 or 6 miles of pipe to be replacing.
And I suspect you'll be making more guest appearances?
I suppose so. I go to where these drawings send me.
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions from the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the petition of National Grid for a grant of location to install and maintain approximately 500 feet, more or less, of 4-inch gas main in Hull Street, Hingham, from the existing 4-inch gas main in Canterbury Street, southerly to the existing 6-inch main at house number 110. This approval is subject to the stipulation of the Department of Public Works, including letter dated April 25th, 2013.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Dennis, if you would proceed.
National Grid hereby respectfully request your consent to install and maintain approximately 890 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Parkview Drive, Hingham, from the existing 3-inch gas main at Thatcher Street westerly to the existing 2-inch gas main at Parkview Place, and approximately 475 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Harborview Drive and Summit Drive from the proposed 2-inch gas main in Parkview Drive westerly to the existing 2-inch gas main at house number 6 Summit Drive, all of which to replace and abandon the existing 2-inch gas main in Parkview Drive, the existing 1.5-inch gas main in Harborview Drive, and the existing 2-inch gas main in Summit Drive.
Okay, Mr. Healy?
Is there a particular reason why one main's smaller than the other in terms of its dimension, diameter size?
Well, when these were installed at different times, and it's based on the load, but as we talked about before, in Hingham, all the gas mains are at an elevated pressure, so we used to have a lot smaller sized mains here than we do in, say, a low-pressure town area.
Okay.
Whereas we might have an 1.5-inch low-pressure steel service into a house, say, up in, we're able to go as small as a 2-inch, a 1/2-inch service in a lot of the houses in Hingham because of the pressure in the main differs.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'm good.
all good.
Yep.
Okay, could I have a motion on this? If there are any questions from the public? All right.
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the petition of National Grid for a grant of location to install and maintain approximately 890 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Parkview Drive from the existing 3-inch gas main in Thaxter Street, westerly to the existing 2-inch gas main in Parkview Place, and approximately 475 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Harborview Drive and Summit Drive from the proposed 2-inch gas main in Parkview Drive westerly to the existing 2-inch gas main at house number 6 Summit Drive, all of which to replace and abandon the existing 2-inch gas main in Parkview Drive, the existing 1.5-inch gas main in Harborview Drive, and the existing 2-inch gas main in Summit Drive. This approval is subject to the stipulation of the Department of Public Works, including the letter dated April 16th, 2013.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Dennis, you're
National
batting
Grid
2 for 2.
hereby respectfully request your consent to install and maintain approximately 950 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Lincoln Street, Hingham, from the existing 2-inch gas main at Burdette Ave northerly to the 2-inch gas main in Bradley Hill Road, and approximately 630 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Bradley Hill Road from the proposed 2-inch gas main in Lincoln Street southerly to the existing 2-inch gas main at house number 26, and approximately 175 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Bremer Circle Road from the proposed 2-inch gas main in Bradley Hill Road southerly to house number 7, all of which to replace and abandon the existing 2-inch gas main in Lincoln Street, Bradley Hill Road, and Bremer Circle Road.
It's just,
I have no questions.
no questions from Mr. Healy. Ms.
No,
Long?
I'm fine.
Any questions from the public? Yes, sir. Could you come to the microphone, please, and state your name and address? That would be helpful to the folks at home. Thank you.
Chris Carroll, 18 Bremer Circle. There's currently gas service all on Bremer from 7 to 22. Do you connect to the existing 2-inch that goes to those houses?
Pardon me now, what's the question?
You're saying you only go to house number 7.
That's where we're gonna replace the main. I can show you on the drawing. We're only gonna replace it up to house number 7, but the main does continue to house number 14.
Okay, so you connect to the existing.
That'll be active. If that service is active, that piece of gas main will be kept active. If there's no service at number 14, the gas main will probably be abandoned at house number 7.
It will be active. And
You're at 14?
I'm at 18. And I'm seeking to get
Well,
up, and I
eight-
think there's gas in the 22 as well.
If you look at the plan, the plan states that the gas main at the lower end of Bremer Circle was put in 1969, which is quite as old as the other portion. So you're talking about one gas main's 44 years old, the other one's 74 years old. The piece coming in from Bradley Park, Bradley Hill Drive down to number 7, that's 74 years old. The end piece where you're at is only 44 years old. And they plan on putting an anode decorrosion system in the ground at the same time you install the pipe. That helps retard the progress of the corrosion of the steel pipe that's feeding your house.
Now, are you saying you're at Bremer Circle number 18?
Yes,
And you have gas?
I do not. I'm going to seek to be tied in, though.
Well, what that entails is
I
a
know that's
process.
different, but
I can, tell you what the process is, but what we're doing in this job, we're just going to house number 14.
the other question I had is schedule, when's it going to occur, and then how's it impact the street traffic?
It's going to occur sometime in this construction season with the Public Works Director deciding when we're going to start the work. Our crews, contractors, can put in anywhere from 80 to 160 feet of gas main a day. They'd only be in front of your house when they were doing the main work for that one day, because we continue to move up and down the street. And they will come back when the gas is activated and dig a small hole to reconnect the service to the house.
Okay, and then the last question, resurfacing. Bremer's already in tough shape. How's that controlled, or who?
That's on the
dictates?
construction schedule, I believe, for 2017. And, funds available, if we have extra funds, it's an area that we could go into sooner, if need be, but it is on the construction schedule. And this gas main replacement will give us a freedom of,
So it'd be in
jumping
patch
ahead.
condition and paved.
It will be patched from what they are, and the schedule right now for any of these mains, we haven't discussed the schedule, because they have other main, they have a mile or so of main in Crow Point they have to put in before they get to these pieces, but when they do the work down there, they'll be notifying the residents on the street where they're working, when they're working, if there's gonna be any inconvenience accessing your driveway, they'll notify you at that time, and if you could, park in the street while they go by your driveway, things of that nature, but they've been pretty good as far as communication goes.
If you have a few minutes when we're done, I can tell you how to go about applying for this main extension that you're going to be requesting, if you'd like.
Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
Dennis, would you do the main extension at the same time you're putting in the new?
The process takes a while to go through the process. It's another grant hearing, and we don't speculate and put gas in. There's a substantial amount of money to extend the gas main.
Right.
That the prospective customers will either share or bear themselves. So that's the process. It has to start through marketing and sales, and when I get the information to come here to a hearing to extend the gas main, it's a little different than abandoning the gas mains that were the old gas.
So it's more work.
Well, it's just a process to get permission, and we have to start from the beginning again to put in a new main.
Well,
Yeah, I think my understanding is that the days of speculative placement of infrastructure are few and far between. unless you-
We're not allowed to by law.
Yeah, so,
I mean, they just don't do it any longer.
it would just make sense, since you're working on that street and you've got the street torn up, to extend to at least number 18.
I agree, but it's a process we have to go through, and,
We can't do that tonight, because it's not on the vote list, or it wasn't advertised accordingly, and he'd have to come back for another grant location and go through that appeal.
no plan
that
either.
process.
Now, maybe that can be expedited. before you actually break ground, if you're,
I told them we would discuss how
Good.
to get it moving. This is a situation that seems to be going on everywhere now.
Okay. Thank you,
Good.
Dennis, for the explanation. I'll entertain a motion on,
I'll move to approve the petition of National Grid for a grant of location to install and maintain approximately 950 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Lincoln Street from the existing 2-inch gas main at Burdett Avenue, northerly to the proposed 2-inch gas main in Bradley Hill Road, and approximately 630 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Bradley Hill Road from the 2-inch gas main in Lincoln Street, southerly to the existing 2-inch gas main at house number 26, and approximately 175 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Bremer Circle from the proposed 2-inch gas main at Bradley Hill Road southerly to house number 7. This approval is subject to the stipulation of the Department of Public Works, including the letter dated April 16th, 2013.
second.
any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, last one.
The National Grid respectfully requests your consent to install and maintain approximately 950 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Rhodes Circle, Hingham, from the existing 3-inch gas main at Fortler Road southerly to the end of the gas main at house number 44-46, and approximately 350 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Rhodes Place from the proposed 2-inch gas main in Rhodes Circle westerly to the end of the main at house number 17-19, all of which to replace and abandon the existing 2-inch gas main in Rhodes Circle and Rhodes Place.
Okay. Any questions? No?
No, this looks like it's going to take care of a lot of houses.
Okay, any questions from the public? Okay, therefore I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the petition of National Grid for a grant of location to install and maintain approximately 950 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Rhodes Circle from the existing 3-inch gas main in Fortler Road southerly to the end of the gas main at house number 4446, and approximately 350 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Rhodes Place from the proposed 2-inch gas main in Rhodes Circle westerly to the end of the gas main at house number 17-19, all of which to replace and abandon the existing 2-inch gas mains in Rhodes Circle and Rhodes Place. This approval is subject to the stipulation of the Department of Public Works, including letter dated April 16th, 2013.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Regan, thank you very much, and I'm sure you'll have...
See you again.
We'll see you soon. Okay. We're just a few minutes behind schedule, and the Community Planning and Historical Commission folks have coming to see us to discuss upcoming events. So if, Mary, if you and Andrea, everybody, we've got everybody here? We do?
Yes,
we do. So if you would introduce, each take a minute to introduce yourselves to the public, and that would be fine.
Very good. I'm Mary Savage Dunham, and I'm the Director of Community Planning.
Andrea Young, I'm the administrator for the Historical and Historic Districts Commissions.
And Tom Wilson, the chairman of the Historic Commission.
Welcome, nice to have you.
Thank you.
Sounds like happy times coming. Okay.
Lots going on.
That's good. All right.
We're here tonight to bring you up to speed on a number of initiatives that we have underway in various stages within the Community Planning Department in the historic section. And we did provide you with a memo, so if it's acceptable, we'd like to just run down the list for you.
Sure, that would be fine. Thank you.
The first matter for discussion is the concept of having a Heritage Day event within the town of Hingham. In the Community Planning Department, we have to balance the needs and desires of progress with the interests of preserving Hingham's historic resources. This is accomplished by the efforts of our Historic Commission, our Historic Districts Commission, and with the support of Andrea Young, within our department. In doing this work, we've realized that there's a need to increase the awareness of the rich cultural heritage and extensive historic resources by celebrating what it is that makes the town so special. And that was the impetus for the concept of a Heritage Day or Pride in Hingham Day within the community. Andrea and I met with the Historical Commission at their meeting of February 4th and discussed the concept. And attached in your packet is a suggestion that the mission of the day would be to increase the awareness of the rich cultural heritage and extensive historic resources by celebrating what makes Hingham special and bringing the community together around that celebration. Some of the events that might fit in with a day or a weekend such as that would be a flag ceremony, perhaps rededication of a historic resource or other historic venues within the town, having historic walking tours, perhaps in the North Street area, cemetery tours, gravestone rubbing. We could have lectures within Town Hall. We could have school children hosting tables or having a display on famous residents. We could have a Civil War reenactment. I mean, the options are endless. And when we did discuss this with the Historical Commission, they were supportive of the concept, and with regard to timing, they felt that this might be something that would be nice to do before school would get out for the year, so that people were still around, or when the weather was nice enough to be outside for walking tours and those types of things. We're here tonight to bring the subject to you, and then also, if you were supportive of it, request that you consider putting together a committee to work on this. Did you want to add?
No?
Short and sweet, good.
We did give you some suggestions for committee members on the back,
I saw that, yes. We'll come to that.
so we're very excited.
I think it's great. Now, how does this, when I first read this, I thought it was what's happening this coming Saturday, weather permitting, the encampment, because many of the activities they're doing are shown here. So this is a separate event. Oh, that's great. That's great.
We hope to have a wide community participation and get the scouts and the school children and the schools involved as well. And let's start encouraging our next generation of preservationists by getting them engaged in the community events. It's part of the thrust.
Paul?
I think it's a great idea. I think that it would also be a good opportunity to raise the awareness of the public with respect to the Spanish-American War and Herbert Foster's contribution to that effort, for which he earned the Medal of Honor. And I also think that it would be another opportunity to kind of raise up the ongoing efforts that the planning board has engaged in over the years on the shipyard project, along with the ZBA. I think there's a treasure trove of history that's available there, and it's right out in plain view. So to the extent that we can do that, I'd really encourage it. I'd also like to see some identification of the Civil War units that were fielded by Hingham residents. I know there's a book. I have it. I'm sure the Historic Commission has it as well.
Okay. My sense, Paul makes some excellent, and Irma as well, some comments. My sense is that this might be theme-based for each Heritage Day. You know, the shipyard and its history might be something we could bring focus to in that particular geography. Might entertain, or downtown, another geography, and it would supplement, as has been indicated, some other events. And I thought your suggestion on the committee could hit on all of those things and put if you will, a theme or a plan together that the town could rally around. And to Paul's point on the Foss issue, we know that, and that's an issue we're going to be considering shortly, but tying that to the Spanish-American War at the time in the schools when they're studying that makes it come alive more. And, that reinforces the classroom experience. So all of this is something we should need. So I think I'm hearing a consensus that we like the concept, but it needs more work, and that's what a committee would. And you've given us the names, so
Well, a question, how are you gonna, are there any thoughts on how to raise the money for this?
We are optimistic that it will be mostly volunteer, and I made that commitment to my boss, that we would keep the costs low. So I haven't really thought about the money. I was hopeful that that would be the first thing we'd tackle with the committee, and I think that many of these groups are very enthusiastic and would be willing to spend a day.
okay. So we don't have a motion on this, do we? No.
No, I think you have a list of committee members
As-
that they're
yeah.
suggesting, and you need a few weeks to solicit that
that's
information,
what I
from
was-
solicit interest from the public, and then, hopefully you can make your appointments next few
Yeah.
meetings.
Could
So-
I offer one other, excuse me, Bruce? Never mind, I just see it. I saw the liaison to private schools, but public is in there too. Yeah. Go ahead.
So
Sorry.
we'll be, just for the folks at home who don't have this document in front of them, somebody from the Downtown Merchants Association, the director, Michael Stack, the Historical Society would be represented, and then somebody from the Chamber of Commerce, a liaison from the Veterans Group, somebody from the Historic Commission, from the Historic District Commission, a publicist or graphic artist to be helpful in developing promotional materials, among other things. And then, of course, the Boy Scout and Girl Scout liaisons and the liaisons from the school. So we have some names to go put next to those assignments, and that would be the next task. So I don't hear any, do you have a question?
I would just like to add, I think that if we could reach out to the CO, the 1058th,
nice.
that might be something that
good
gives
idea.
us a little more grab to this effort.
Good idea.
And I would like to respectfully suggest that perhaps the HDIC be involved.
Sure.
And we would like to have a public safety liaison for logistical purposes, and hopefully the town historian.
It's a big tent.
There's no one from the harbor
Well,
on here, or maybe the Friends of Hingham Harbor might be a good group, or the Harbor Development Committee.
That's why I made the suggestion that a focus group, this might be a general umbrella group to get it structured right, but then a focus group to deal, to Irma's point, on the locale that we may be celebrating on that particular year. Committees of this size are difficult to manage at best, and having a smaller group gets things done. So
right.
that's my management training, that if it's more than 8, it's tough. That's,
And I will say, we didn't deliberately exclude the harbor.
Yeah.
Initially, when we were thinking of this concept, we thought that we might have more of a success if we started small and looked upon it as a celebration, but also an economic development initiative to celebrate the wires going underground downtown and bring people out into our beautiful historic center of town. So after we thought about that and we determined we needed a committee, we put that aside, and we will defer to the committee with regard to that.
okay.
Sometimes if it gets too big, you fail.
Right. That's true. All right, so the ball is in our court to help get this committee structured, and Betty, if you can add that to our appointments list of, that's already 6 pages, but we'll make it
Thank you.
7. Okay. Okay, you had Hingham Memories. It was the next issue. and
The
maybe you
next
could-
initiative that we're hoping to bring to town is called the Mass Memories Roadshow. This is a volunteer, staff-led initiative done in partnership with UMass Boston. I did provide within your handout one piece of paper that talks about the responsibilities of the local planning team, which would be primarily staff and what UMass Boston would provide. And in a nutshell, this is like a antiques roadshow, but the meat of the conversation is Hingham's history and preserving photographs and videotaped interviews of folks sharing their information and their memories about the town of Hingham. And it's really a collaborative event where the staff on the ground here provide the venue, provide some logistics. There is a community participation fee, which I believe that I have the ability to cover, so that's taken care of. And staff on the ground is responsible for publicizing the event, coordinating to bring people to participate, whether that involves shuttle buses from Linden Ponds or senior volunteers picking up elderly people that would like to participate, getting the word out. And within the venue that we utilize, which I had thought would be likely Town Hall, you set up a number of stations with tables. And if Mr. Healy were to come, he would bring 3 photographs from his past in Hingham. And you go table to table and you write down what the picture is. We scan it in, and then you sit there and you hold it up, and they videotape you giving a 2 or 3 minute statement about what it is of or what it's important of. These are my parents working at the shipyard, whatever the case may be. And then that scanned photograph and your digital testimonial are archived together. And it would be, it's kind of along the same concept of interviewing World War II veterans before we lose them all. Although anyone can participate in this type of show. So it's preserving our history, but it's not a targeted history, except that it's Hingham's history. Whether it's a picture of Grandma in her garden in Hingham years and years ago, or someone from the shipyard, it's anything. And so I think that it's a very exciting take on preserving our past. It would be housed electronically at UMass Boston. We would also have it here. And I'm suggesting for this event that the Department of Community Planning would take the project lead, but we would be working with staff throughout the town of Hingham. And then after the program fleshes out, then we would put out a call for volunteers. But first we need to know who's handling the logistics, who's going to coordinate the audio-visual equipment, those types of kind of heavier lifting that it might be easier for staff to wrangle into place. And so this is just at the initial stages, but we're very excited about it. We do need to submit a formal application to participate. So I need the blessing of the Board of Selectmen before I were to submit that. And that application basically says the town of Hingham would like to participate, and then it would identify the project lead. So it would say Mary Savage Dunham is the main contact within the community planning department, and then they essentially ratify that, assign a liaison, and then you can start moving forward to plan it.
This is really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Will you be using HCAM?
We are trying to televise everything we can that we do. So I would say that we would.
Would they
if we
be
could.
involved with this?
They certainly, I don't see why not.
I think it'd be great.
He's coming, Peter McIntyre is the contact at HCAM for me. We do a monthly issues program, which the folks see on TV. And it's a good way to publicize this, but also they're trying to build a series of programs that would create the aura around things like this. I mean, as when you and I met, it reminded me of the NPR exercise where, you wake up on Saturday morning and you have 17 generations talking to each other, and the stories are always good and capture your attention. So I would say let's go. All right, so we need a formal vote on this. Do you need that, or just,
I think a consensus of the board would
would
be
it be
fine.
fine? Okay. So I think you got that.
You certainly do.
Yeah, okay.
I'd love to help, too. This would be cool.
There you go.
We will be accepting volunteers. Very good.
Okay.
Number 3.
Number 3 is woodenware. Tell us more about that.
Number 3 is also a very exciting project. Approximately a year ago, we were approached by the Hersey family and Darren Bray, who is the author of the woodenware book, to help them to publish the book, essentially. And the Historical Commission, as you know already, has already done, Not All Is Changed. We published that, and then we also published When I Think of Hingham, 2 editions, and Walking Tour Map. So each of the books that had been published previously, the mechanism was to use the Preservation Projects Fund to accept donations so that people could make their donations tax-free. And the donations and the pre-sales of the book would then fund the actual printing. So we are in the process of setting up a fundraising committee who will do actually all of that work and raise the funds necessary. This is a bigger project than, well, in terms of the subject matter, let's put it that way. Mr. Hersey and Mr. Bray have already have made arrangements to have a display of Hingham's woodenware at Old Sturbridge Village. And they have been contacted by a number of interested parties, a number of committees. So this is, this book is unique in that this is the very first time that anyone has ever really written about or documented the woodenware industry in Hingham from its early days in 1635 into the 1930s. A foundation for this, we do have a number of objects in town, and also at the Hersey Farm, there is a toy shop which is going to be instrumental in promoting the book as well. So, I think that's what I have to say about it.
Questions?
I am thrilled about this, because one of my favorite projects, which Andrea was very helpful to get going through the CPC, is the restoration or the reproduction of the Torrent fire sign that we now know was carved by Augustus Hudson. And the only part that's left, and Darren was absolutely thrilled when he saw the little man, that it is one of the only big pieces of Augustus's work that's left. So, and it's in the book, so I am delighted. And that should be, depending on when the Old Sturbridge Village display is going to be, the little man might be ready to go out there.
Oh, that would be excellent. Actually, that is, I think, on the schedule for a year from this fall,
Might just be ready.
prior to the holiday season.
That's exciting.
And into the holiday season, so.
Paul?
I would just like to add on page 7 of the presentation that Shorty Burr, Alston Pratt Burr,
Oh, you're in the
nephew of Russ
woodenware
Burr,
book presentation, okay.
not be overlooked. I had the pleasure of seeing him sell his hand wooden carved birds up at Charlie Cushion's gas station in the 70s.
Oh,
And he was a pretty good wood carver in his own right. So even though this is considerably earlier than that, I'd say that skill set continued on into the late recent century.
thank you.
Amen. This is good work. So something else to go to Sturbridge Village for that has a personal touch to us.
Yes,
Great.
yes.
And we do want to thank Peter Hersey for helping.
For helping considerable help.
Yes.
The next issue that you wanted to bring to our attention was a policy concerning the kiosk that exists in downtown Hingham.
Want me to start with the policy? And then we'll let, I'll start, just talk about the policy, and then Tom will fill you in on where we're at in terms of getting that, the third side of the kiosk up and useful. Let's see, Ted, last October, I think, had asked me to prepare a policy for the kiosk, and so I drafted something out and met with Sue Sullivan and Suzanne Buchanan and Michael Stack, and we put finishing touches on this, and so the policy is here, and basically, I think we were all clear from the beginning that this was a vehicle to promote the merchants in downtown Hingham and also our own heritage. And this, so the policy was basically built around that. And essentially, I think, I hope that we managed to think of everything. So if, and we would appreciate it if you would endorse the policy, if you feel that it's appropriate, and so that we can implement it.
Questions on the policy?
Who would enforce the policy? Would
The
you all?
HGIC.
Okay.
And keys to the kiosk would be held by? That was a trick question,
Thank you,
Andrew.
Mr. Rabufo. Yes, they will be, each one of the three entities, the commission, the historical commission, the society, and Mr. Stack will
The downtown
have a
merchants.
key. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Unrestricted. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Just to give you an update where we are, it's a project that's been going on for some time. The kiosk is obviously built. We're using the first two panels. The back panel, however, which is going to be a metal map of Hingham with about 30 or so of the main historic sites around town, including pictures that'll be embossed on this metal map, and descriptions of where they are and whatnot. So we've finally gotten to the point of hiring a graphic designer. We have all our spots picked out. Sue Sullivan is getting bids from the people who will actually do the metal piece of it, and we're meeting Tuesday, and we ought to be able to wrap things up in terms of the design and the outfit we're going to be using, and it's just a matter of how long it'll take for them to actually do the final phase of the project. So it should, we hope it'll be done in the next month.
Really?
Month and a half. Just-
This has been a long time coming. It started as a Boy Scout or an Eagle
Yes,
Scout project.
yes, it did.
And, and I know the biggest issue was getting the map.
Yeah.
And agreeing on its contents and what it is. So that's good that it's coming to closure.
Is the glass shatterproof and quote-unquote unbreakable, however unbreakable glass can be?
I'm not sure.
I do not know the answer to
Yeah.
that. I shall find out.
Good question.
I don't know. I don't know. I'll find out. Thank you.
This is a 10-year-old request, really, to have something downtown. So it's good that we've got something that governs that. Paul, any?
No, I have nothing. Good luck.
Okay.
So may I ask,
Do we need a motion for the policy?
We would if the board's so inclined.
I'll entertain a motion that we endorse the use policy as proposed for the Hingham Square kiosk.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Good.
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, the last piece of information is interesting, to say the least. This has been a long-standing discussion to move a house at 99 Fort Hill Street, which many of us know as the Richardson, or a piece of the Richardson house. And Tom, you're going to
Yeah,
talk about
yeah, I
it,
will.
if you would?
Yeah.
I know.
We're very close to bringing the parties together. We haven't signed all the documents or the contracts, but everyone is agreed to the concept. And very quickly, Andrea is becoming an expert in moving houses down streets in Hingham and coordinating that. But thanks to volunteer efforts from people like Peter Bickford and Ben Wilcox and many others, we think that we have the system set up to be able to move the house. We just have to finish off some contracts and some gifts from the owner, John Richardson's sister, who is very graciously allowing the house to be given to the Historic Society for it to be, and this is the old section of the house, the 1685 section. It's a 16 by 25 piece that was part of the old fort. It was an ammunition storage area, and then moved in the early 1700s to its present location. And in its future location, it's going to be a wonderful museum for people to come in and see how people actually lived in the 1650s or 1685 era. So we're real excited about it, and hopefully it'll still continue to go along this path of happening. So that's where we are with it.
Where is it going? I read in the patch that it was going near Old Ordinary.
Yes.
Where?
Right behind Old Ordinary, between the annex, this big open lot. Actually, it would be temporary.
Carol, could you come up to the microphone? People may not be able to hear you. Thank you. And just, it's Carol Piles.
Carol Pyle, 727 Main Street, President of the Historical Society. There's lots of room at the Old Ordinary, but we're going
Really?
to temporarily put it to one side. They'll then go back and take all the foundation, numbered rocks, bring them over and put them on. We're going to then test various spots in the soil to make sure we're not putting it on top of something even older and more precious. And then it will be built in the location, kind of between the annex and the old
Really?
Ordinary. We're very excited about it.
That is exciting.
So it has to come from just across the railroad station, all the way downtown. And I won't ask the date or time yet. That's to be
In the middle of the
determined.
night when no one's watching.
Okay.
But Roger Fernandez is helping us out substantially to coordinating the efforts of what people in
Street
town.
clearances and pole
Horizon,
clearances
you name
and
it,
all that.
right,
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Will it be moved in one piece?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's been confirmed that it's in good shape. The sills are in good shape, so it should stay together as it's put on the truck and moved along.
Could you say will?
About 35 years ago, I had the distinct pleasure of working for J.J. Gordon Building Movers, and that is a very established Hingham business that moves houses. And I would hope that Jim Gordon is a part of this.
He is.
This isn't simple stuff, and that's a long move, even for a small structure. And it isn't going to be done in a half an hour. This is a big logistical move.
What's the
that you're
size that
talking
we're
about.
moving? 16 by 24, so it's a good size.
I mean, he can handle that without
Yes.
a problem, but it'd be good to see him involved.
He and Peter and Ben have met several times on the site and understand what the issues are.
You are going to tell us when this is going to happen.
We'll be doing a press release.
Excellent.
There'll be a little
Gotta see
coordination
it.
necessary with public safety and a few other entities. So we'll have a
And
lot of
Mother
advancement.
Nature.
And the train.
Who's in charge of discussing this with Mother Nature?
Well,
Train's not important.
apparently, unless they're gale force winds, we can do this in any weather, so.
And we have.
Yeah. And I just wanted to add, it's really been a nice experience because just trying to get this all set up. We're having a coordination meeting this coming Wednesday morning at 8:30, if anyone would like to attend. I think but the nice thing is that there are so many volunteers. Hingham Light Plant, the DPW, I mean, the fire department, everybody's been very gracious in terms of not charging us because, there are limited funds to do this, and it's just been great.
Well, that's good. Well, and it's preserving such an important part of the town that, it will now give it the prominence, the more prominent position that it deserves. So that's-
You can always tell the worth of a project when you don't have to go out and beg people to volunteer.
Is that its original location?
No.
It was originally in the old fort at Fort Hill Street. Then it was built as an ammunition, not shed, but a house or whatever.
Blockhouse of
And
some
then
sort.
moved from there to its current location.
Great, that's great. Okay, I understand you have a few other, just to keep yourself occupied so you don't get to see your daughter. And that's,
We'll be very quick, but we do want to bring you up to speed because there's so much going on.
I would like to mention, we have a wonderful speaker coming on June the 5th. May I show this to the folks at home? And it's on the website.
can put
You
it
want it on the, yeah.
There we go.
Okay, I'll send it over.
Get that, Bob, please? It's on the,
Oh, you got it on already? Okay. Oh. Jean Caroon is a preservation architect, and several of us heard her speak a couple of years ago at the Traditional Building Show. She is an author of a book by the same name, Sustainable Preservation, but she's not just concerned about historic preservation. Her philosophy is that we should use what we have, and rather than to put stress on the environment and on the economic viability of the country and towns and so forth by tearing things down and then having to manufacture new components to rebuild something. Jean Caroon has been, she's really very well known. She has worked on Trinity Church. In other words, to maintain the architecture and the integrity of the church, but put new systems in. So, all of that has been done. She's done work for a number of clients, and it's all detailed in her book. So I just hope, anybody who owns a home or is involved in the building trades or sells homes, is involved in any way, really would benefit from this. It was kind of eye-opening to me, so, when I saw her speak.
so that's Wednesday, June 5th at 7 o'clock in the Sanborn Auditorium here in
Yes.
the Town Hall.
Yes, thank you.
Jean Coral, very good. Okay, and an update on the historic inventory.
Is that me?
Yes.
Oh, well,
We're switching back.
Yeah,
okay, we have the money that was encumbered last year, and we put out for bid the, well, actually, it was request for bids, the work to update the inventory, and we are working with, Betty was very helpful in that regard. We're working with Fan and Laner, who have already done a lot of work in Hingham and are very familiar with our inventory. And so by the end of December, what they plan to do is to review all the properties that are on the inventory and to make sure that the documentation is there in terms of why a property has historical or architectural significance or archaeological significance. And so there are some that probably will be removed, and mainly because there have been so many changes to properties not in historic districts. So this deals with the approximately 800 properties that are not in historic districts, but are on the inventory of assets of the town.
Will there be some kind of mailing to those addresses, Andrea, so that people really do understand that they're on the historic list? And in fact, I think that will minimize some of the crankiness when people try and do things.
Actually, we did send a very large mailing out in conjunction with the change in the demolition delay bylaw. So it has been done fairly recently.
It was done last year,
Yes.
and its effect was profound, because there were a number of people who, one, didn't know they were on it, and number two, didn't understand the implications, and it brought clarity to that. It brought a speech from a very respected lawyer here in Town Hall. So, but I think it's good that we keep that current and that we publicize it so people understand the import, so. Okay. The town deed, that's, now this deed, by way of recollection, when I first became a selectman, right, the seat thought I was gonna have, where Paul now sits, there was a deed hanging behind us, and I'm looking at the signature on it, and I had seen a similar signature when I lived in England. And there he was. He was back, the person who had created this town. And I thought it was a facsimile, not realizing that till Andrea came up one day and said, "Be careful when you back up." It's the original. And so about 2 years ago, we turned it over to folks to preserve it, lest it lose its not only value, which is probably not quantifiable, but more to make sure that it's around for many more, for the next 400 years. So maybe you could tell us where we are on that, if you would.
Well, Andrea and I drove the deed to the Northeast Document Center in Andover, and had a meeting with their experts, and they're in the process of looking the deed over and giving us an estimate. They have given us a preliminary estimate along with the taking photographs of it and framing it and whatnot, preserving it. We are in the position now of asking them some questions about that, their process, and just confirming that this is the absolute best place for it to be done. We're just, it's so valuable, it's one of a kind, that the last thing we want is for someone to work on it and then something to happen to it, the process not being done right. And so we're just checking some backgrounds and doing our due diligence before we give them the go-ahead. And that should be very, very soon.
I thought the idea, since it will be reserved and where it's stored, but to have copies of it available is an excellent suggestion, so people can have a memento of the town, of its origins.
It's great. It's a great idea. Yeah, we'll have a nice replica of it right in your offices here. So,
right, good fundraising.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. So we're close to giving them the go-ahead, but doing some more work.
Or well, let us know if you would when
We
come
will.
back to us, and so we can give it the publicity it rightly deserves.
All right.
I want to thank Andrea for arranging a visit, because I remember this hanging up in the old town hall, thinking what a great copy this is. And isn't it cool? For taking Mary and her daughter, myself and Abby, over to the library, and we got so close to this. Of course, with everybody, making sure we didn't get our little fingers anywhere real close. But it's an amazing document.
Really is.
Amazing.
Okay, the last item you had was the sign for the Beale Street Poor Farm.
Yeah, and as you know, the town meeting passed the warrant for a monument or sign, monument. So we've had, I think there's been a couple meetings now in the Historical Commission sessions where we've talked about this. Various people have brought proposals, different ideas about what this sign or this monument should look like. And so we decided, maybe along with what you said before, have a smaller group take a look at this. Actually, Jim Clark, who has done so much work in the background of this, and John Hersey and the town historian and a couple members from our commission get together separately and come up with their best recommendations. We have, I think, a lot of good ideas, but we need to hone it down.
Yeah, someone floated the thought that we have so many historic locations in town that perhaps some recognizable format that
Yeah.
would connect the dots of those different
Yes.
locations, so.
We think that's a great idea. Whether it applies to this monument or sign, but it might not be the best place, but that's what we're discussing right now.
Okay, good. So when do you have any timeline as to when that might come to fruition?
Well, we have a meeting coming up the next Monday, and we're hoping the subcommittee gets together, and frankly, I don't know if they have.
No, not yet.
Not yet, okay. But soon. I mean, that's a priority. This is a priority item to get going at. It's been too long in the making, so we want to move ahead with it, so.
Okay, very good. Okay.
I do want to bring up one last, you've heard about the bell tower from Roger Fernandez before,
Right.
but that's a major project of the Historical Commission. And it's officially underway. It's been in the making for 3 years to get to the point where we're now doing the structural work and the masonry work. The next phase is the bell work, which is a more expensive project. But I want to thank Gary Tondorf Dick, really, and Mike Shilhan, who have been on a committee with me for about 3.5 years to get it this far. So we're real pleased that it's underway.
Good. Mary, I understand you have one other?
If I may deviate from historic, or do we have anything else? So we're very excited about all of our historic initiatives.
Okay.
If I may, while I have your attention, I did also include in your packet a memo on the master plan update. And so if I could just explain that, the planning board is in the process of updating the master plan. The last master plan was done in full in 2001. And the initial phase of this process involves a couple of things. First of all, there was a $60,000 grant the town had received to work with the MAPC, the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. And that was in place, waiting to be started back up again when I was hired. So we have started working on that again. Certainly $60,000 is not the type of money that we would like to give back. We'd prefer to utilize it to the benefit of the town. So working with the MAPC, we are in full-scale information gathering mode. The first step of this process is to assess where are we now, where do the residents of the town think we are now, where do the residents think we should be in 10 years, and what are some of the opportunities facing us, and what are some of the obstacles that may be perceived or real in front of the community. So it's a rather large charge. One of the main thrusts of the outreach is an online survey. There is a link to the online survey on the Community Planning Department webpage, if you go to that. We also have these cards, which are in your packet, and right on the card it says, become part of the process and provide us with your input at www.surveymonkey.com/S/Hingham Master Plan. And we would encourage any resident within town to log on and take the quick survey. There's only about 25 questions, but it really will be helpful to guide the work in front of the planning board at this time. And we gave you these cards, and we have them on counters throughout the town. We encourage you to help us with our charge and distribute them when you're out interacting with the residents, and encourage them. They don't have to remember where the survey is. It's written down for them. So if you would be so kind, that would be lovely, or drop them on a counter. I will tell you that we're working with Superintendent Gallo. She's been wonderful, and she has included this information in the electronic newsletter that goes out through the school system. We've networked with the library, and we're very, very excited. We've started also going out and meeting with different groups and interacting with target groups to get specific conversations. For example, I met with the seniors at the men's breakfast the other morning and got their particular viewpoint on the town, which is good. The other item that I would like to highlight is that the planning board will be holding a series of forums. And the first forum will be June 3rd from 7 to 7:30. And the point of that presentation will be the consultants from the Metropolitan Area Planning Council giving a brief demographic presentation on where Hingham is now and where Hingham sits in relation to the community with regard to transportation, housing, age breakdown, socioeconomic status. Some of that information will not be new, but it helps to provide a framework for the conversation. Keeping in mind the MAPC is looking at their sustainable communities principles. So they have a narrower focus than the planning board has when looking at the master plan. And to explain that a little better, I would tell you that the MAPC is helping with a portion of this work through the grant-funded activities. The planning board acknowledges and welcomes that partnership, but then there are other conversations that they hope to have a little broader perspective to the end result. So we've also scheduled a forum with the planning board at 7 o'clock on June 10th to talk about housing. And not specifically affordable housing, but housing in town, accessory units. What do we need? Where should we go? What are your thoughts? We have a forum scheduled for June 17th on historic preservation. And we have another forum scheduled on June 24th, and that is to spend about an hour talking about recreation and open space, and then another hour talking about economic development. Now, these are initial conversations. The comments and data gathered will be taken back by staff and consolidated, and what we will do is at the end of the summer, we'll report back out. And we'll say, here's the data, here's the comments that we received, here's the mapping that staff has produced. Now let's take a look at it together. What is this telling us? And at that point, hopefully in September, we'll be able to start focusing on possible goals and objectives moving forward over the next 10 years. And that should coincide nicely, hopefully, with the budget process. So if the master planning process were to identify that further studies were needed either on an intersection or a roadway or a particular issue, that would be something that the administration or staff could consider as we're looking forward next year in the budget process.
There'll be many more opportunities for the board to participate and engage in this process.
That's what I would expect. Your timing is impeccable because we just started last week the first meeting of our assessment of the fire assets, and this would be timely in that regard as well. So, any comment, Paul?
Yeah, I'd just like to speak to the residents and echo Mary's sentiments. I was on the master plan committee when it was in existence a decade or so ago. And as a result of that report, the planning board relied upon it heavily in a lot of the decisions it made, both as to the actual developments that occurred in town, but the initiatives and the policy directions that we took with respect to zoning bylaw proposals. So, this is a good opportunity for the residents to speak and to kind of highlight and alert the planning department, the selectmen, as to their views, so that can be incorporated into what we do going forward.
Good. Excellent. Well, I want to thank you. This was most informative. I'm sure the folks at home are looking with anxious anxiety. Happy anxiety, I should say.
Anticipation.
Anticipation, that's a better word. Thank you.
And
That's
Mary,
why we have a lawyer on the board.
Mary, thank you for reaching out to the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, which is a mouthful to say, because they always have so many interesting forums and meetings. But it's nice of you to bring them in where they can concentrate on our area. And I know the work of the Harbor Development Committee is going to feed nicely into the master plan update. So I'm looking forward to working with you on that.
Very
Okay,
good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all for coming. I thank you for your patience, my friends from the farmers market. We're a few minutes behind, so if I could invite Nanette Walsh and Mark Collins to come on up. The purpose of this discussion is to give us an update on the farmers market in the square and elsewhere, I think. So if you could introduce yourselves to the folks at home, that would be nice.
Sure. Nanette Walsh, 10 Rice Road. I'm the square market manager for the Hingham Farmers Market for the Wednesday market.
And I'm Mark Cullings, and I'm the president of the board of the Hingham Farmers Market.
Okay. So,
We're looking to get permission to have the Wednesday Square Market again this year. The dates of the market are June 19th to October 23rd. It runs from 11 till 3. And we're located at what we call the Town Clock Plaza, which is at the corner of Main Street and North Streets. And we have roughly 4 or so vendors. I refer to it as a petite market with your daily essentials. So we have a produce vendor, bread, possibly cupcakes and juice, and live music.
great.
This is what, our fifth year?
It's our 5th year in the square and our 3rd year in this newer location.
And it's 11 to 3, so we've settled on that time.
Yep.
That's the good time.
That has, over the years, that
I know there
we've
was,
shaken it out, and it works well.
great.
Has the community been using it more and more over the years?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
I think it's good for people who, work in the square or perhaps are not around on the weekends, so they're able to come midweek to the market. And we definitely have regulars coming.
We encourage the Saturday market, of course, is much bigger, and we encourage all of our vendors at the Saturday market to participate in the square market, and some of them do, and they do so happily. It's a matter of expectations. It's a different kind of operation than the Saturday market is.
Okay.
And I also want to acknowledge, too, we're our sponsors for it, because it's not really money generating. It doesn't really pay for itself. It's really kind of a public service to the community. And Hingham Savings Bank, Nobles, and Le Petit Maison are the sponsors to get the market in the square.
Oh, that's great. It's always been designed just for people who are not familiar with it. The whole idea of the market on Wednesday was to draw more citizens and visitors into the square during the summertime, when frankly activity can be low, and it's proven over the years to do just that. It's, I think makes a contribution to the overall fabric of the Hingham Square environment.
Very good.
And I've heard from a number of merchants who certainly have seen traffic due to the market,
Good.
which is nice. Midweek through the week can be quiet, so it kind of gives it a jump in the activity.
That's what its intent was,
Yes.
to hit that lull, so that's good. That's good.
Yes.
Do you have any idea of the crowd numbers?
Well, you're
to
there
say, yeah.
more often.
To be honest, I really haven't counted. I mean, it really can fluctuate, and it's over a period of time.
That was a curiosity marketing question, just
Yeah.
knowing what it's helping
maybe
to draw,
we'll take a closer look at that.
just to see and
Yeah.
whatever change. Well, great, thank you.
It was, I think it was sometime last year, mid-season, around noontime, a large passenger van similar to the ones that the Elder Care Services drive, pulled up at the town clock and disgorged 20 elderly people who just fanned out. They came directly to the market. They were, they were from
Abington.
Abington, but they had come, they knew about the Wednesday market.
Field trip.
They came to Hingham to come to the market and shop.
Okay.
But it was the market that drew them here, and we'd like to see that happen more.
And if I may, while you're here, Mark,
Yes.
the Saturday,
Saturday market is off to a roaring start. Weather has been a little problematic. On not
snow
the-
never bothered us before.
No, but the Saturday market, in my opinion, and the feedback I've gotten has corroborated it, is the strongest market that we've had to date. We've added some new vendors that I think enrich the character of the market. We have a poultry farmer, grass-fed, pasture-raised poultry. We have a new artisan bread baker. We have a new cheese maker. And all of those things are the things that we're looking for at the market.
Great.
Traffic has been very good. As you, just to tub thump a little bit, the Hingham Farmers Market is one of the oldest farmers markets in the state. And it's one of the longest running, or the season is one of the longest. It runs from the beginning of May through Thanksgiving. And May and November are what I call shoulder months. Their produce isn't really coming in great abundance, but nonetheless, there is produce out there, and it's very interesting to watch the farmers adjust their products, adjust their business so that they can have fresh, locally grown produce early on in the season. And that's happened. 3 of our large farmers are doing very well with that. We're expecting Weir River Farm back in a couple of weeks. That's the most local, of course, large farmer that we have at the market, and they always do a great job. It's
Good. Okay. Any questions? Any further?
I want to put a plug in for Nan, because she very nicely, as she said, who was sponsoring this weekday market. She didn't really say her own business is one of the sponsors, so that's a plug for Nan.
Yes, we
Thank
wouldn't be
you
able to
so
do
much.
the Wednesday market without your help.
That's great. Well, we thank you both for what you do for the community, because it has enhanced the presence of others to come and visit us. So thank you for that. Okay.
I think we do need permission. I believe we need permission to do it.
Shall I do a motion? I'm going to.
Oh, hold on.
Do we need a motion?
It's not on the list. That's why I'm asking.
I know.
It's
It's all right.
What do you permission for the
The
Wednesday
Wednesday?
market?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We're using town property, and in the past, we've come at approximately this time and asked if it's okay.
Got it.
Oh, I thought this was just free marketing.
Well, it's free market.
We were all looking for the cookies, or the cupcakes.
Oh,
We've gotten complacent.
you gotta come
haven't
down and buy those.
A deal. I'll be there.
It's always about money, isn't it? That's it. Hey, could, Irma, you want to make a motion,
Sure.
if you would?
I'll make a motion to allow the Wednesday's Farmers Market in the square from June 19th through October 23rd on Wednesdays from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Like this.
We have a letter, and it's the next vote on our vote list. We have a letter in our file from Sergeant Stephen Darth of the Traffic Committee concerning the installation of a street light on Gardner Street. And I understand, Irma, that you were helpful in getting this request to us. And we have the support of the Traffic Committee, and they're recommending that the street light be installed on pole VZ230, which is located at 140 Gardner Street, and that this would help with the issue. So, anything further?
It's pretty straightforward.
We've talked to the light plant, and all they're waiting for is our vote, and then they'll schedule it. And it is, I have to commend Lisa for sending this to us and the traffic committee. It is a very dark area.
That's what.
Just before we vote, though, sure. I was on the, well, I still am on the traffic committee, I guess, but
I know.
this is an area of Gardner Street where the sidewalk just dead ends. And this is a request by a resident, just where that sidewalk dead ends to cross over, and it's fine, but the bigger problem of a lack of a sidewalk on the street still continues to exist. So, this is probably not gonna be the last time we're talking about this area.
Okay. Any other comments?
Nope.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we vote to approve the installation of a street light on pole number, is it?
VZ230.
VZ230, which is located in front of 140 Gardner Street and is directly across from the driveway of 137 Gardner Street.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay. Mr. Alexiadis, we have an issue for discussion on the Affordable Housing Trust request for funds.
Correct, and we have town council and Kevin Conley.
Kevin Conley, all right. Would you both like to come up to the, I don't know what we call that. We should give that a name other than. The table. The hot seat, there we go. Now, that's inside, that's, we have. Okay, Susan, thank you. Susan Murphy, who's town council for land use.
Right. So I am here representing the role of the Board of Selectmen in connection with the Hingham Affordable Housing Trust under the town's general bylaw, which created and governs the Hingham Affordable Housing Trust. The bylaw requires that if the housing trust wants to expend any funds, it requires the approval of the Board of Selectmen. So but this is the matter that the Board of Selectmen is aware of, because this is an affordable unit owned by Juan Penn Florentine at Ridgewood Crossing. The town had received, the municipality, which is defined as a chief executive officer, which in Hingham is the Board of Selectmen, received notice of her intent to sell the unit. The town has a right of first refusal under the deed rider. The Board of Selectmen voted to exercise that right of first refusal. And there is a time frame in which to close, which is 90 days from the giving of notice, which is currently June 10th. And there is a need for an eligible purchaser. DHCD has weighed in and said that the Hingham Affordable Housing Trust is an eligible purchaser, and Kevin can speak to what the trust would do, if it acquires the unit. So I will leave that to him, but and I will let him speak to what their meeting they had on Tuesday night. But before they can purchase it, they would need the okay of the Board of Selectmen to spend those funds for this purpose. And so I'm going to turn it over to Kevin so he can speak for the trust.
Thank you.
So on Wednesday, we called a meeting for the trust, and we discussed the situation that Susan has elaborated on for you folks. A motion was made to purchase the property. It was seconded. And this motion was made with the contingency that the trust confirm that we can cover the cost of the maximum sale price, the closing cost, and the carrying costs. There's also a second contingency that we inspect the unit, and in a discussion with the building inspector who will be going there with us, we feel as though it's in a good enough condition. to purchase. And then what we'd like to do is find an eligible purchaser, affordable purchaser for that, and then resell the unit. After locking down the affordability clauses on the deed rider.
For the purpose of the folks at home, the property is available for title and all those other legal terms, Susan, that you can...
Right, well, the deed rider, the provisions of the deed rider that deal with the right of first refusal incorporate a lot of provisions you would see in a purchase and sale agreement. So, a residential type purchase and sale agreement. So the seller of the unit is required to give good, clear, marketable title, which would include discharging of existing mortgages, et cetera. At this point, I have had letter communications with the owner's attorney, setting forth what the expectations are with respect to delivering proper title, et cetera. I haven't heard anything contrary to what the expectations of the deed rider are. The inspection is scheduled for next Tuesday morning. We have provided him at his request with the names of the town officials who will be in attendance. So I assume he'll be there. I don't know that he'll be there, but if he is, at that time, I'll try to have a face-to-face conversation with him about where we are, schedule-wise, et cetera. But right now, the town, if the town is going to exercise its right, it needs to have a purchaser that is ready, willing, and able to perform on June 10th.
Okay. And qualified. Yeah, qualified.
Yes, thank you.
Qualified was the other, okay.
Susan, are there any other qualified purchasers? Not that I'm saying the Affordable Housing Trust is not the best one, but there was talk at one point about residents within the Ridgewood Crossing group purchasing it.
Well, in order to be an eligible purchaser, you would have to meet as an individual, as opposed to the trust, you would need to meet all of the financial qualifications, et cetera. Because the unit does have mortgages in excess of its current permitted sale price and has had modifications made to it, et cetera, that we need to have the building commissioner look at. The feeling was, based on my discussions with the LIP director at DACD, was that rather than seek out an individual who would then have to go out and get a mortgage and have a mortgage commitment and be tied to certain commitments, and then not know for sure at this point that clear title will be available on the closing date, that would be an uncomfortable position to put an individual in. Whereas with the trust, if there needs to be extensions to clear title, et cetera, it doesn't really affect timing. It doesn't adversely affect the trust's ability to act, whereas it might adversely affect an individual. So this way, by having the trust take title, the trust then has the ability to make sure when it closes, everything is clear, and then it can market it. And if there are eligible people within Ridgewood Crossing or elsewhere, they can apply to the trust.
I'm assuming that trust will use its own funds.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Healy?
I have just a quick question. During the period of time that you're looking for an eligible person, is the trust able to rent out the unit? Or does it have to stay vacant until you find somebody?
It's my understanding it would have to stay vacant until we find someone.
They may be able to, under the condominium documents, to lease it out, but based on the conversation that the trust members were having, they're hoping on a fairly quick flip time, so it may not be a sufficient amount of time. If they can flip it in, you were hoping 6 to 9 months.
Correct.
That wouldn't really be a sufficient time for someone to move in, become a tenant.
Will you try and get a preference for a Hingham family?
Oh, if we could, certainly, of course.
Okay. So do you need a formal vote for us to approve this?
Yes, so the trust needs a vote that pursuant to the Hingham Affordable Housing Trust bylaw, whether or not the Board of Selectmen votes to approve the expenditure of funds for the purchase of the unit. So,
Okay.
You ready?
Yep, yep.
Well, pursuant to the Affordable Trust Housing Bylaw, I'd move that we authorized it to provide the funds necessary to make the purchase.
Of an affordable unit at Ridgewood Crossing. Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. Thank you for your work on this. Okay. Jim, sorry, Carl Harris was here, and is he still here? He,
Left about an hour ago.
I would like to bring a matter to the attention of the board next, and it relates to the next discussion we're going to have on appointments. Next Thursday, there is a meeting of the Plymouth County Advisory Committee on which the chairman of the Board of Selectmen represents the town of Hingham. And I would be attending, and the main issue for consideration, which I'd like to have a discussion about, is they are adding 2 commissioners to their 3-member board, so there will be 5. And the second issue they're asking for is to increase the salary of those commissioners from $7,500 to $15,000 per year. I'll give you my analysis, and I'll do it either in lira or yen or whatever you want. But they spend, their budget is $9 million. Our budget,
90 million.
so there seems to be something awry with that. So I'd like to propose to the board that they empower the chairman to represent their interests and not support that increase. That's the only reason I'm going to this. The reason I wanted Carl here, Carl has been, as our liaison, staff liaison to that, trying to put together a matrix of what we've heard from them and compare from the Plymouth County so that we can get some nuts and bolts to this. What are the services they offer? What are the services that they offer that we do for ourselves? Is there any financial benefit to us changing that relationship? And then we could discuss this at least in a reasonable approach as to how we should proceed, because we have not yet made a decision from all the meetings that we've had as to how to proceed with our relationship there. So this is a step of that, but my proposal to you would be that we don't vote for that increase in salary.
Do we know why the increase? What was the rationale for the increase? Because I've read the documents and I don't find any
There isn't.
rationale.
I haven't.
But there must be some. So it's too bad Carl left, because I would hope he might have some insight to it. Do we know?
His insight to me was that he couldn't explain it, because that was the first question I asked him.
Do we know why they're adding the 2 commissioners?
It's part of the Charter Commission study. The Charter Commission plan is to add 5, a commission body of 5. That's my understanding, and and I think their plan, from what we heard, is they intend to offer more services, not only to enhance the services they currently have, but to offer more services, one of which they brought to us, as you recall, was the assessment service, that they could perform that instead of us doing it for ourselves. But that's the issue as I understand it. So I don't know if you, Paul, any questions or?
Just an observation. When I was a young officer, for a while the department was sending us down to Wareham District Court for the jury trials, and it was a recently built courthouse. It was in great shape, and about a month ago, I, by circumstance, ended up down there, and the place is a dump. It's really sad to see the maintenance is appallingly lacking. And I'm in Brockton steadily, and the Registry of Deeds down there has had a window in the front of its building that's been broken for months. There was a flag caught in the trees that stayed there for weeks, despite me agitating to whoever would listen to get it out. So that was the context which I heard those gentlemen the other day. I don't have the benefit of your analysis of the numbers, but I'm skeptical about the whole thing, and I tend to see Mr. Harris's point of view.
All right, so I'll assume you would agree with my...
That's my long-winded way of saying it, yeah.
Pending somebody convincing you otherwise, or giving a rationale. I mean, that's a huge jump in money. And
Considering I just went before our personnel board and suggested that maybe we shouldn't be paid at all. This is just...
Can you ask them?
I did, and the answer I got was, this is what they need to move themselves forward. Did you hear anything different, Ted, in your discussions? That's what Carl told me, so...
But it's a lot of money to pay somebody.
I agree. That's why I don't want to
I
pay
believe
it.
the commissioners used to make $25,000 each a number of years ago.
When they were a full-fledged county, is that right? That's what Carl told me. He said when it was a big, it was a full-time position. But
Could you ask them for their rationale, just for...
I'll bring it back.
I mean, a blank piece of paper, you may come back with that, but at least...
I'll bring it back again. I'm telling you what Carl told me.
It's a lot of money.
It is. I had a discussion with Tom O'Brien. He was not enthusiastic or endorsing it. He just was, as the treasurer, relaying the proposal. So, okay, I'll take that as a word. Okay, the last item we have is some votes on appointments. We've been interviewing a number of people over the last few weeks. We may have, I understand, Betty, there's a possibility we may have a third session of appointments, or do we?
Depending on how many more talent bank applications come in, from what I understand, there may still be some people who have not yet been interviewed.
Okay, all right, so that date is yet to be determined, and I know Michael has made his available. So we have interviewed a number of people, and we're ready to appoint some. I do have a request from one of the selectmen to hold on the first appointment for the moment, and in respect for her position, I will do that. I'd like to appoint the following people, and maybe the easiest way to do this was starting with Mr. Vickers.
Ms. Vickers.
Ms. Vickers.
Ms. Vickers, I'm sorry.
Do you want me to read this batch?
No, we just go back and forth. We can give
All
you
right.
each one. Yeah, that would be easy.
All
So
right.
if you could start to appoint,
Okay, I make a motion to appoint Leslie Vickers to the Council of Aging for a 3-year term expiring in 2016, and Don Cybor to the Council of Aging to fill a 2-year unexpired term ending in 2015.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Your turn.
I can't vote for myself, so. could you-
I'll move to appoint Mr. Buffo as the Selectman's representative to the Plymouth County Advisory Board.
Second.
Okay, and I'd like to just add that, with the approval of the board, that if there are occasions where I cannot be there, that I would understand that one or either of you would go. It can only be one of you, it can't be both of you.
I
That's
would
it.
be more than happy to sit through some of this, I think.
Okay, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
I move to appoint Edward Guild to the Veterans Council for a 3-year term expiring in 2016.
I second that and thank him for his service to the country.
Oh, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I just read that one.
Patricia? Oh,
Your turn.
Oh, okay. Then I'll move to appoint Ms. Coyle, Patricia Coyle, as town's representative to the Ware River Estuary Park Committee.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I move to appoint DeWitt DeLauder to the Bear Cove Park Committee for a 3-year term expiring in 2016.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, we have some existing persons who have elected to volunteer to appear for a second or other term, and so
Okay, I move to reappoint Daniel Jacobson and Timothy White to the Affordable Housing Trust for a 2-year term expiring in 2015.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to comment on the next one, if I may. Joe Fisher has been on the Zoning Board of Appeals and has been apolitically involved in the number of cases that we have pending before the Housing Appeals Court and other issues concerning the DHCD, as it's called. Joe has volunteered to stay with that, and therefore, while we normally appoint people to the zoning board for two terms, Joe has volunteered for that purpose to stay for a 3rd term. So until these cases are resolved, I would recommend that we appoint Joe Fisher to the zoning board for a 3-year term expiring in 2016.
So moved, but I would just like to add that I've had the pleasure of working with Mr. Fisher, and he is indeed an asset to the Zoning Board of Appeals, in particular, in the town generally.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Joe is an amazing person. My experience with him, he's licensed to practice before the Supreme Court, and that means he's, I think, isn't he? That means he's qualified, right? That's it. I mean, I don't know about the Supreme Court being qualified, but I know he is, so that's a good thing. Okay, we have some associate members of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay, the next one, I make a motion to reappoint David Anderson, Alan Kearney, Mario Romano Jr., and Robin McGuire as associate members of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the ensuing year.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay.
Yes,
You're
I'm
next.
Sorry.
You're next.
I'll nominate Mr. Josh Gregory to the Audit Committee for a 3-year term expiring in 2016.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I make a motion to reappoint Bonnie Hobbs as a library trustee for a 3-year term expiring in 2016.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll, sorry about that. I'll move to appoint Ms. Laura Spaziani, Ms. Rosemary Durkin, and Ms. Patricia Bray to the Beautification Commission for a 3-year term expiring in 2016.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. I'll make a motion to reappoint Chrisanne Gregoire, Leah Godfrey, and June Friedman to the Council of Aging for a 3-year term expiring in 2016.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll move to appoint Ms. Jill Powell and Ms. Trish Bejo to the Cultural Council for a 3-year term expiring in 2016.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to reappoint Sue Sullivan to Development and Industrial Commission for a 5-year term expiring in 2018.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I will move to appoint Mr. David Fenton, Mr. John Thomas, and Mr. Eric
Cashel.
Cashel, thank you, to the Harbor Development Committee for a 3-year term expiring in the year 2016.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to reappoint George Ford, John D'Angelo, alternate, and Marty Saunders, alternate, to the Historic Districts Commission for a 3-year term expiring in 2016.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll move to appoint Mr. Robert Curley, Mr. Michael Dyer, to the Historical Commission for a 3-year term expiring in 2016.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Make a motion to reappoint Betty Tower as Registrar of Voters for a 3-year term expiring in 2016.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll move that we appoint Mr. Kurt Weisenbeck, Mr. Roger Nastow, and Mr. Thomas Hagstrom to the Scholarship Fund Committee for a 3-year term expiring in 2016.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move we reappoint William Ramsey and David Sargent to the Veterans Council for a 3-year term expiring in 2016.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. And I want to thank both of them for their service, and especially David Sargent, who is new to the Veterans Council and has been extremely active and present at just about everything we've done. So thank you both.
That's good. Before we go to executive session, just, I want to, I have something, I'm going to ask the Assistant Town Administrator to make copies for you to take for consideration at our next meeting. We have, one of our changes that we make every year is we change the role of liaisons, mainly because the chairman moves up and has some specified responsibilities, and we rearrange the others. I thought it would be, for Paul's benefit and for the public's, to have a discussion of the liaison role. And at my request, the chairman put forth, or the town administrator, at my request, put a draft together based on a survey of other towns. It was interesting to me when I researched it through a very close friend that we found that in some towns the role of liaison has made its way into a bylaw. So there must be a lot of history in those towns. But I will make copies of this for discussion at our next meeting, which will be on June 13th at this juncture. So I'll ask her to distribute that. The other thing at last night's library committee meeting, the trustees meeting, I just wanted to put forth that they are in the process of re-examining, under the leadership of Ed Siegfried, their investment portfolio and deciding how they should proceed to continue to keep the library as a viable organization. And I mention it because they may come to seek your guidance in view of the discussion we started the meeting at with our AAA rating and the rate of interest. They may want to associate themselves with at least an understanding of the role that you play and our financial advisors play to help them in that decision. They haven't decided to do away with the firm that they currently use, but they have engaged 3 other firms who are bidding on the work, so it's a timely thing. And the other issue that I know Irma and others were involved with is the volunteer luncheon on Friday was a success, and particularly, and I know she's going to be angry by us mentioning her name, but Joan Newell was recognized for all the work that she's done, and I would just like to applaud that recognition, because it's a good thing for all that she does. And then this Sunday, we had the benefit, Irma and I had the benefit to go to the Citizen of the Year recognition ceremony, and Ruth Potter, who is an amazing person. I called her an inspiration. She was moving a lot better than I was, I can tell you. And the funny part about it was she wanted to have a good time, and we were keeping her from it. So that's it was just, I applaud her and congratulate her again on this on this thing. The last piece of information: the CPC had a meeting I was at as well last night, and there is a survey that's forthcoming June 1st through the summer for people to give input on the activities they'd like to the CPC be engaged in or pursue. Of particular interest is, as you may recall from this year, should we be seeking clarity around the idea of can we use CPC funds to maintain? The current statute has some limitations on that. And also, are there priorities of the kinds of investments under projects that they should be pursuing? And is there a priority that people may have in terms of land use or recreation or open space or housing? And they want to solicit the input from the town citizens as to the preferences that the town might have. So that's a survey, again, similar to the one we heard from Mary that will be forthcoming, seeking town input. So That's what I had as a selectman report in an abbreviated version, but I don't know if anybody else had something they'd like to.
One thing to add to the presentation on Sunday for Citizen of the Year. We all want to wish Ruthie Potter happy 96th birthday tomorrow.
That's right.
She, and I'm not going to be able to deliver the quote that she had, if you remember that, Bruce.
Yeah, I do.
She said she's 95 years old, so she figures she might as well hang around till she's 100 and get credit for it. And she's an amazing woman. We've known her over 40 years. She is a spectacular artist, among other things. And she's now teaching art classes at Allerton House in her spare time. So happy birthday, Ruthie, and many more.
That's very good. Thank you for remembering that. Okay, anything else?
Nope.
We're going to adjourn now to executive session for the purpose of discussing contract negotiations and
Litigation.
And litigation.
We're holding this not in executive session because it would have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the public body if we held it in open session. I'm going to take a motion on a roll call vote for this, and it must be by individual. And we will not return at the end of this session to reconvene. The meeting will conclude in the executive session. And once the matter is resolved, we will have records available for public review. So with that.
Yes, but before I do so, I'd just like to remind the citizenry that Monday's Memorial Day, there'll be a ceremony, and it certainly would encourage everyone to attend and join in honoring the service our soldiers, sailors, and Marines have made to the country.
Thank you. And the GAR Hall
Yes,
celebration
on
is Saturday
Saturday.
from 12 to 5.
And there's Touch a Truck. All the museums are open. There'll be a shuttle service back and forth. Lots going on, and Mother Nature sounds like it's not going to be totally cooperating, but maybe she'll change her mind. So I hope everybody will come to that. It sounds like it's going to be a really great time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think
we got it. Did we get everything?
Yeah.
I thought we probably did forget something.
Team
There's a lot-
effort.
There's a lot going on in the next few weeks, so just stay tuned to the calendar. So with that,
Then I'll move that we go into executive
executive
session.
session.
Second.
Okay. Mr.
I
Haley?
concur.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Lauter, aye. Mr. Rebuffo, aye. Thank you and have a good evening. And a happy, safe holiday as well.